Hello, EduMagicians. Welcome to the EduMagic Podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fesich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of EduMagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
My name is Jennifer Kronk from the Assist Learning Podcast. I'm a proud member of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Make sure you check out all the other great podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com and get ready because the learning begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the EduMagic Podcast. I am joined today with Miss Hannah Sansom, who is an amazing colleague, a former student, and a teacher rock star. She is going to be sharing a little bit about the new project that she has coming up with Katie Gibson, Hannah Turk, and myself, all about EduMagic Shine On, a guide for new teachers. So, Hannah, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you share a little bit about your teaching journey and what inspired you to become an educator?
When I was in high school, I was not planning on becoming a teacher. Those of you who know my story know that I spent several years wanting to become a chef and have my own restaurant. And after doing a little bit of research and looking at a chef and observing him, I realized that that's not what I wanted. And so here, several years later, I now have 2 degrees in education, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I love what I do. I love working with kids, and I'm so glad that I made the change. I went for my undergrad for elementary and special education, and I got hired right after graduation, teaching 3rd grade math at a local elementary school. And since then, I've been in the same school. This is the beginning of my 4th year, and I love it. Every year has been a new lesson, and something I've been able to take away every year has been really neat. And I've been able to learn something about myself every year as well.
So I know you're in your 4th year teaching, and what are some things that you're learning about yourself as a 4th year educator?
Yes, some things that I'm learning is that it's okay to just have fun with the kids. Just be yourself. Yes, the content is important, but the kids just need someone for them to just laugh with and to have fun with. And also through the past couple years, something that I would tell all new teachers, it's okay to change what you're doing if it means that it's going to be better for the kids. Don't be stuck in a lesson or stuck in a scope and sequence that isn't right for your learners, because every year you get a new set of kiddos, and what works for one set might not work for another set.
Now, Hannah, if you could think back to that first year teaching, and I know we've had many coffee dates about your first year, what's one area that you were not expecting as a new teacher?
Yes, the hardest thing, I was actually talking about this last night. The hardest thing for me as a new teacher is the baggage that comes with teaching. When the kids walk into your room, no matter how old they are, no matter how many you have, they all come in with a different story. And for many, unfortunately, it's a heartbreaking story. And, I was fortunate to grow up in a great supportive home, and I still have that. And for some of my kids, that's not the case. And it was hard to relate to them. And I realized I didn't technically have to relate to them. I just had to be there for them. Just have that listening ear and let them cry and cry with them and just be there for them. That was the hardest thing for me. And it's still hard. Here I am, 4 years into it, and it's not any easier, but I know that it's a reality and something that every year you can find your support system to go through those difficult times when you have them with kids.
You also mentioned about having 2 degrees in education. So I assume that you went back to school while teaching?
Yes, I did. So I went through Walden University, and they have 2 programs. One accelerated that you do all the 30 credits in a year, or the non-accelerated And, because of, where I am in life right now, I figured I'm able to do 2 classes at a time. So I went back and I got my master's in reading and math. So half of my coursework was in reading and literacy and development and instruction, and as well as some classes were in mathematics. And it was definitely a very challenging year in regards to balancing school and family, but it was doable, and I am very thankful that I did it at the time. And it's nice to walk away feeling accomplished.
What advice do you have for new teachers out there who, this will air in November and they're 3 months in and maybe they're looking at getting a higher degree, a master's degree or a certification area or an endorsement? Do you have any advice for them as they start to look through some of the programs that are out there online and in person?
Yes, do your research. I looked at a couple different options for me. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to go back for a full degree or not, or just take credits to build that equivalency. As a new educator in most states, there's requirements of going back to school. I know for me, I needed 24 credits, but a master's was 30. So think of where you want to go and what your district will pay for, because some districts will offer a stipend for you. Think of where you see yourself in a couple years. Do you want to become, in charge of curriculum development? Do you want to eventually become a principal? Do you want to go and teach college students? What do you want to do? And that helped me narrow down my choice. Like I said, I got hired right out of college, and therefore I never taught reading professionally. I taught it in college, but never professionally. So I wanted to get more knowledge and more information about that. But I also love teaching math, so I wanted to get more knowledge about that. And I found this program. So that's why I chose the route that I did. But through my research, there's many choices out there. There's hybrid, where you can go to a local community college or a local university and take a couple classes in the evening and take some online. There's also ones that it's solely you just go to class and it's like you're back in college again. So think of what you want to do and how you see yourself. So just really look at your options, be open to ideas, talk to people. I talked to different people who I know went back to school and what their experience was through the university I went to, and through other universities to see what's out there. And they just went through it. So they have awesome ideas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I totally agree. Do your research, picture yourself, where do you want to be in 5 years, and how are you going to get there, and make those steps to make that happen. When it comes to balancing teaching your third grade class and going back to school, what are some tips you have for time management or just scheduling everything in to make sure you get everything done when it needs to get done? Because that can be very challenging, especially for a new teacher going back to college and having a full-time job.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that most educators are like myself, that you have your planner and you don't go far without it. But at the beginning of every class, I had 8-week classes, and at the beginning of every class, I put in, just like in college, of, when are the due dates, when are things due, when I need to meet with a child to work on something for a project, and really stuck to that planner. I tried to stay on top of things at school, and I had to be okay with the fact that, okay, I don't have my copies a week in advance. I just have my copies for a few days, and I had to be okay with that because I knew that I needed to have that balance between work and school, and able to do things with my family as well. So sticking to that schedule and making a to-do list and prioritize what has to be done, what I would like to get done, but it's okay if it doesn't. Like those copies, it's okay if I don't have everything planned week in advance. So yes, really just being strategic with your planning and sticking to that to-do list.
I love that. Thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing those strategies. It's really hard to balance everything and to get
Hmm.
everything scheduled out, make sure you have everything done for both your job and your college coursework. Now, you have a book coming out, EduMagic Shine On. Can you share a little bit about the passion behind this project? What inspired you to get this book out there for new teachers, especially in November during this time where we're giving thanks and being gracious and things like that? Sometimes we are still struggling in our third or fourth month of teaching, finding out all the different nuances of our school.
The four of us have very different stories about the first years of teaching, and together we just put this book together that has a bunch of different tips and ideas for preparing for your classroom. And when you get in those lags of, wondering, is this really what I'm called to do and what I'm meant to do? Finding that inspiration again and finding your support system again. And yes, I remember I spoke to student teachers that first semester out, and it was about this time, maybe a little bit closer to finals. And I just remember thinking, wow, like what happened the past couple of weeks? Like the first few months, you're getting your feet wet, and then it just is, it's a crazy ball of fun. And but there's also days that you're wondering, wow, what just happened? I don't think that this is what I signed up to do. So yeah, so EduMagic Shine On just is an opportunity to reach out to new teachers and just offer inspiration for, those moments getting near Thanksgiving and Christmas that you're asking yourself, am I going to make it until break? But just, how to find a mentor, whether it's you have a mentor given to you, or maybe you need to find someone else, maybe a colleague in your grade, because you're a new teacher, you're learning things as you go. And, no matter who you talk to, whether it's someone who's taught for 4 years or 24 years, every year is a learning experience. Every year you have new experiences, new challenges, and you are constantly learning in the field of education. So the book is a guide for new teachers, but personally, I think it's a guide for any teacher, because we always need to be reminded that we can find inspiration and find our support system, and we can make it all work together.
One of my favorite parts of the book is just the vulnerability that we put in there. We put in lots of experiences. And like you said, all four of us have different, some of us more recent than others, different first years of teaching. We have a first year teacher who went through being a first year teacher twice in two different schools. We have you who went back to your elementary school, and now you're a third grade teacher at the elementary school in which you were a third grader at one point. And with your third grade teacher, we have a first year teacher who found, you know what, this school is not jiving with me, and life happens, and some other circumstances started happening for her. And then there's my story, which is a first year teacher in a special education classroom. All of our stories blend and show there's
Mm-hmm.
no one cookie cutter first year teacher, and that we can all learn from
Yes.
everyone's experiences, and that we're not alone. Everyone goes through it. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone has ups and downs, but there's still so much to learn from. So just like an EduMagic, a guide for pre-service teachers, the EduMagic all stands for something. And same with EduMagic Shine On, a guide for new teachers. What is one of your favorite chapters that you wrote and contributed to, and why?
My favorite chapter is the inspiration chapter. The the teachers, like I said, I work with my third grade teacher. So yes, my first couple years, yes, I've learned a lot, but it's been a a great experience to learn with my third grade teacher. And she was my teacher, and now she's my mentor and a colleague. And just writing about the people who inspire me, who have been there for the ups and downs, have truly been there for just life. And I was extremely blessed to have colleagues who are great to work with and who inspire me every single day. Let alone my kids, my kiddos, my students, they inspire me to just take a step back and just think of myself. And teaching is such a humbling experience. So that chapter was very fun to write, and just made me very grateful and thankful for the colleagues and for the people that I get to learn from every single day.
Yeah, I loved writing that one as well. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it really was a bright chapter. There are some chapters in the book that do work through some disappointments and dealing with some issues that we may not have been prepared for. And I think that's really interesting as well, being vulnerable with the readers. But one of my other favorite parts are the checklists. Oh my gosh, I wish I had that checklist. Like things to prepare for, things to think about, questions to ask yourself. And I think that's really important, no matter what year of teaching you're in, to have you can always use more strategies and ideas. And before we end our conversation today, can you give one piece of advice for new teachers out there who are in their 3rd or 4th month teaching? What piece of advice do you have for them?
Take a breath and just find a way to get energized and to make it through, because you will, and just stay humble and have a listening ear to the other teachers who are there to help you.
For people who want to connect with you regarding the book, regarding what you're doing in the classroom, how can they connect with you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Hannah J. Sansom, or you can find me on Instagram at h.sansom. I am on Instagram every day, and I get on Twitter throughout the week. I try to get on Twitter throughout the week.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for your time today. And I can't wait for my listeners to hear all these great ideas and strategies that you shared with us today. Thank you so much.
And there you have it, EduMagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more EduMagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram at sfessage. Until next time, you have the EduMagic within you.